I want to say thank you for joining me, and I hope this is a real benefit to you, your team, all of your leaders, and your church. At Exponential, where I have the opportunity to be the president, we've been doing some research on churches across North America, and one of the things we're finding is that every church can be put into what we call 5 different levels. And let me just kind of explain these levels. There's level 1 churches are churches that are declining, and there's level 2 churches that are plateauing. And then there's level 3 churches that are growing. Then you get to level 4, we call those reproducing churches. And finally, level 5 churches, and those are multiplying churches. Now, what our research began to reveal is about 80% of all churches fall into those first 2 levels of declining or plateauing churches, 80%. Then when you get to growing, you have about 16% of all churches that are actually growing. Then when you get to reproducing, only 4% of all churches have ever planted a church or ever started a brand new site. And kind of one of the dirty little secrets of that is that only about half of those did it on purpose, which means about half of them were church splits. Then when you get to level 5, these multiplying churches, you probably have just a handful of those, maybe less than even a handful of those all across North America. Now, as we began to do some homework on these, one of the things we found was the greatest determining factor on churches becoming level 4, level 5 churches was leadership. Let me just say it again. One of the greatest determining factors was leadership. And so we began to study what kind of leaders lead these level 4, level 5, reproducing and multiplying churches. And at Exponential, we were able to assemble some of the best and the brightest together for a think tank to really put some headspace on this topic for several days. I was commissioned along with Warren Bird then to take some of that and to write a book on this topic. I also began to reflect myself personally in the last 20, 25 years of leadership on both at Community Christian Church, a large multi-site church, New Thing, a church planning network, and also my role at Exponential, the things that we've learned. And it's like we've discovered, or maybe rediscovered, a secret of certain practices that leaders do that allow their churches to reproduce and multiply. You want to know the secret? Now, I'm not really trying to be clever or sly, because it's like there was, at least for me, it felt like there was a secret to these certain practices of movement-making churches. And the secret is actually something that's available to any kind of leader. It might be a leader as a volunteer leader of a small group or of a student ministry group, or it might be on the other end, a senior leader of a very large church. But these practices fit and allow any leader to dramatically kind of scale and multiply their impact. So let me tell you, here's the secret. The secret is this. It's you choosing to not be the hero. Let me just say it again. It's you choosing in your leadership to say, I am not going to be the hero of this story. But instead, you choose as a leader to say, you know what? I'm going to be a hero maker. See, it feels like everybody wants to be a hero, but few people understand the secret and the power that comes with being a hero maker. And that's exactly who Jesus was. And I think that's exactly who we need to be. Now, you might push back, and it's true. Yes, Jesus was our hero. Heroically, he stretched out his arms, gave his life for us, and died on a cross. But if we look to his life and his leadership, what we see there is someone who was a hero maker. In fact, if we go to John 14:12, Jesus says this very, very strange thing to his followers, those who were closest to him, those who assembled around him. He just looks them in the eye and he says this, hey, truly I tell you this, whoever believes in me will do the works I've been doing. And then he goes on and says, and they will do even greater things than me. What? How do you do greater things than Jesus? And that's what he's saying to his followers. He's looking at his closest band of people that he was apprenticing for 3 years of ministry. He says, yeah, you're going to do greater things. You're going to reach more people. You're going to go to more places with the gospel. You're going to catalyze this movement of love. You're going to write the best-selling book, not me. You're the one who's going to write the Bible. You're going to have a greater impact through your ministry than I ever did in my 3 years. And what Jesus was telling us was that he was not going to be the hero, but the way to get this mission, this movement moving, was by him being a hero maker. Let me give you a couple examples from my own life. It was probably more than a decade ago. Todd Wilson came to me and he said, hey, Dave, I'll tell you what. I'm going to do all the behind-the-scenes work. I'll run all the operations if you'll be the president and the on-stage presence at Exponential, the conference. You do that part, I'll do everything else. I was like, tough. You drive a hard bargain, Todd. Deal. It's a deal. Well, since that time, I've been the president of Exponential Conference, and every year when we gather, particularly in Orlando, I take the stage. At the beginning, I welcome everybody. I tell people I'm the president, and they think I'm the genius behind what has now become the largest, at least in North America, maybe the world, church planting conference. Where the truth is, Todd and his team are doing all the behind-the-scenes work. He's literally creating this platform and then saying, hey, Dave, you stand on it. Let me tell you, I want you to get that. That's what HeroMakers do. HeroMakers create a platform and they let other people stand on it so as to advance the mission. One of my mentors is a guy by the name of Bob Buford. Bob made his money in the cable TV business, and when his one and only son died tragically, he went through a shift that he called halftime. And he calls that shift a shift from success to significance. I look at Bob's life, and I think we could word it this way. I think he went from being a hero to being a hero maker. And Bob has a saying that I've kind of adopted as my own, and he says this. He says, my fruit grows on other people's trees. My fruit grows on other people's trees. And so what Bob began to do, he began to change his practices in this second half. He started an organization called Halftime that was all about business leaders finding significance. He started another organization called Leadership Network, which was about helping identify innovative leaders in the church and then giving them a platform to stand on to spread that innovation. And I know Bob well, and for years he'd always carry a 3x5 card in his pocket up here, and he'd have about 10 or 12 names of young emerging leaders on there whom he was investing in. Sometimes I got to be one of those names. See, Bob was a hero maker, and he'd made that shift from being the hero to being a hero maker. All right, so if hero makers create a platform and invite other people to stand on it, and hero makers say, my fruit grows on other people's trees, I mean, how do you do it? How do you do it? Well, here's where we're headed next. We're going to, in the next 5 segments, we're going to kind of lay out, here's the 5 essential practices of a hero maker. So go ahead and take a look at this graphic, and I'll explain these briefly. The first practice is multiplication thinking. This is a shift in thinking, where you shift from going, I think ministry happens through my own leadership, where a hero maker says, I think ministry happens through multiplied leadership. It's a shift in thinking. The second practice is a shift in what you see, and it's called permission giving. Instead of, as a hero, seeing what God can do through my leadership, which is a good thing, but a far better thing is that I see what God can do through others, and I let them know what I see in them. That's a hero maker. The third practice we'll get to is called disciple multiplying, and this is about sharing, where the hero says, I share what I've learned in ways that grow followers. A hero maker says, I share what I've learned in ways that multiply disciples to the 4th generation. The 4th of 5 practices is gift activating. This is where you say, as a hero, you say, well, I ask God to bless my own gifts. Different, a hero maker says, no, what I do is I ask God to bless those that I am sending out. I ask God to bless those I'm sending out. And then lastly is kingdom building, the last of practices. And this is where, instead of counting the people that show up to my thing, that's what a hero does. The hero maker says, I count leaders who are doing God's thing, So those are the 5 essential practices of a hero maker. We're going to move through those each, and I think they're going to make a big difference, help you multiply your influence. And I'd encourage you, just use this one key question every day. What if every day you woke up and said, ask yourself this, am I trying to be the hero, or am I trying to make heroes of others? Thanks.